Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the July 27th Lebanon Board of Works meeting. Our first order of business will be the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilman Robertson, will you lead us, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Dick. Next up will be the roll call members. Madam Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Yeah. Mayor Gentry.
Present.
Becky McClure, absent today. Bill Stoner.
Present.
Dick Robertson.
Present.
Alan Milburn.
Present.
Thank you.
Okay, now we'll move on to the approval of the minutes from our previous meeting. Are there any changes to the minutes? Would entertain a motion to approve.
Make a motion, we approve the minutes.
Motion to approve, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Minutes are approved. All right, now move on to department head reports. First up is Police Department. We've got Deputy Chief Bailey.
Good evening. During the period of July 14th and July 24th, the Lebanon Police Department responded to 576 calls of service. During that time frame, there were a total of 8 people arrested for the following crimes. 2 were wanted on warrants, 2 for operating while intoxicated, 1 for possession of methamphetamines, 1 in dealing in methamphetamines, 1 domestic battery, and 1 unlawful possession of firearm by a felon. A total of 14 gun permits were requested by our department. Lebanon Police Department held firearms training on July 24th, and then we're still completing online training for the other mandates that we have to do.
Thank you, Brad. Any questions from the board? Any questions from the public? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next up will be Fire Department, Chief Batts.
Good evening, everyone. Since the last Board of Works meeting, Lebanon Fire has made 122 emergency calls of service, logged 340 hours of training, installed 2 car seats, and performed 21 site and commercial inspections. Last week, Lebanon Fire hosted the Pike Township Fire Academy at the Boone County Training Tower. The training was performed under live fire conditions, focusing on fire suppression and search. This Thursday, I have the privilege of being a guest instructor for the Fire Academy. We're traveling to the Wayne Township Fire Training Grounds to go to a Phase 1 flashover chamber. This is a very intense training for the recruits. It's an observation chamber that we're going to set up like a home and light it on fire, and we'll actually be slightly below the fire, and we'll get to see the fire grow from its incipient stage. And it's just a really great teaching moment for the recruits, and I've been an instructor for that for years, so looking forward to that. This week, the LFD crews will be out with the new Whitestown recruits, and they'll be training at a couple different locations, at an acquired home in Whitestown and also at the Boone County Training Tower. We were very honored for Chief Owens to invite us over and do training with some of their new recruits. On July 23rd, Chad Hale is starting his Instructor 1 state certification. Very happy with Chad's progress. This is a big cert, and we're happy to get it in the books for him. Over the last 2 weeks, we've had several structure fires within some of our townships that we cover and within the city. We'd like to thank our neighboring departments for their assistance. And even last week for the Kaiser Estates fire, Pike Township was in town with the academy, and we asked them to bring one of their engines. So we don't see yellow fire trucks in town very often, but they appreciate the opportunity, and we thank them for it. That's all I have for this evening.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions from the board?
No.
Any questions from the public? Thank you, sir. Next up will be Parks Department, John Messenger.
Good evening. We are wrapping up our July swim lessons. Hopefully we can get them in tonight. We'll see how the weather is. Started back up with our co-ed softball league, and games have been going well. Very hot this past weekend. Players still had a lot of fun. Seashore Water Park and Splash Pad are still very popular with all the hot weather that we've been having. Again, it's really going well. I did want to note that the last weekday for Seashore Water Park will be Wednesday, August 12th, and then we'll go down to starting weekends only, starting August 15th, and we will remain open on weekends until Labor Day. Obviously, with all the kids and college kids going back to school, we had to break it down that way. And we still have adult swim of a morning, so if anybody wants to get some exercise out in the lazy river, come on out. The park's 100th year celebration has unfortunately been canceled. We hope to do something for next year. Obviously, with the state we're in, it's changed. We will have a dedication on August 7th, that Friday, for the Memorial Shelter. That's where the Rotary had helped us out with that project, and it's just gorgeous. But that will be at 1 o'clock for the dedication and ribbon cutting there. We held our first annual pickleball tournament on Saturday, July 18th, and had 18 teams total sign up. The tournament ran from about 9 until 2, and 2 teams were crowned, one for the beginners bracket and one for the experienced bracket. Sorry, Mayor, you won 6 games, but wasn't good enough. But
I told you I wasn't that. I told you I wasn't that good.
Yeah, you were. Your partner was really good. There you go. And that might be your mother there.
Yes,
So, she had some game with her. There you go. It was a fun event, though. Really pleased with the turnout. A lot of people from out of town came in, and I'm telling you, everybody loves our courts. A lot of these out-of-towners appreciate just all pickleball courts rather than any tennis. I guess at other courts, a lot of tennis balls fly in, but we were really pleased with the turnout for our first tournament and the conditions that we're in. Wanted 2 other notes I had. Anson Sperry, aspiring Eagle Scout, made his goal, his financial goal, to earn his Eagle badge. He will be placing in with our direction and help, but he's really done a great job of fundraising. For our Big 4 Trail, he's going to put in a bike workstation, so a repair station, what have you. That starts Wednesday. Really excited about it. He also had some extra money, so he's going to put in a bench for us there. He's also putting in dog waste stations along the trail. Really appreciate all his hard work. He did earn all the money, quite a bit of money. He's also had enough money. He's going to help Whitestown Angie Moody, Thorntown, to put one there. If you are familiar with them, it's like the one that's at Whitestown at their trailhead. Really gorgeous, and appreciate Anson. Also have 2 other Girl Scouts that are trying to raise some money, so if anybody out there can help, go to our website, go to, oh boy, this website's a long one. Anyway, go to the Lebanon website or Facebook page, and it'll show you. These 2 girls are trying to raise money to help us out on our dog park. And they have some great ideas, landscaping to be done, a gazebo to be built. They need $11,500, and that's part of a grant that they're trying to get. There again, that's what is it, housing, and Mayor, you're more familiar with that grant.
It's a Creating Places grant through the IHCDA.
There you go.
Yep.
And it's a matching grant, so whatever they raise, they'll double it. And their goal is pretty aggressive, $11,500. There's only 19 days left, so if you can give a little bit. These girls are working hard. They're out doing bake sales and everything else. Anything you could do to help them out would be appreciative. And it's just going to beautify our park down there. So anything you can do to help them out, I appreciate. And that's all I had.
Thank you, John. Any questions from the board? Any questions from the public? Okay, thank you, sir. Next up will be Engineering Department, Kevin Krulik.
Thank you, board members. Updates from the engineering department. Downtown, really only one thing to update you on, and that is the Washington Street sidewalks that will need to be resurfaced in front of Pythias Hall. We're going to be taking a unique approach to that. We're going to leave those in place. You might remember those are over a basement. We're going to be epoxy coating those and covering those with a granite fleck material that has the appearance of new concrete, but will allow us to seal up those areas so the water is no longer getting into the basement. But we're not going to get into the issue of rehabbing the structure of that building to fully remove that basement under the sidewalk. So that's really the last major thing to accomplish downtown. We're on a schedule with a special contractor that does that kind of work for early October, and that's just their earliest availability. But it also coordinates well with one of the businesses will be closed that week that coincides with the Western Boone Fall break, and the other one is only open 3 days a week. So we'll be able to do that work in 2 days without affecting any business. Indianapolis Avenue Phase 2. Preliminary inspections were held last week with the contractor, with our inspector, with the INDOT officials. We flagged a few things. This is a preliminary, unofficial inspection. INDOT doesn't do a final inspection until they get to full completion. But we did that last week, good cooperation with the contractors. They also started working on some of their preliminary punch list items, which were concrete sidewalk removals and replacements, as well as some curb removal and replacements. Most of that took place last week. The only thing really left to do is they've got to grind some curbs down where they've got some low spots to kind of make those things drain better, and that will wrap up everything with the exception of some reseeding work that, per the specifications, is delayed till fall when we have cooler temperatures. And then that also delays final inspections. The final official inspections would take place with INDOT for their process will happen in the fall after that reseeding is done. Pavement resurfacing programs, all the resurfacing is complete. All the manhole casting adjustments are now complete. And we're just trying to get our striping subcontractors on site to prepare for all the striping. They've been doing some preparatory work. You've probably seen some of the thin white lines that they've been doing, getting set up for that. Unfortunately, we just need a couple of days of dry weather before they can really put that material down. Hopefully this week that will happen though, but again, that's all weather pending. State Road 32 surfacing, doing the best we can to keep up with the contractors on the schedule, which changes by the minute, especially with the weather pattern we've had lately. The last schedule I have from them, which came out last week, basically had them wrapping up curb replacements and sidewalk and ramp replacements today or tomorrow. I know they're still working today, so we'll see how much more they got to get done tomorrow. Let's see, then they also should be, by the end of the week, wrapping up their full depth patching. They'll go right into then August 3rd through the 11th. They'll be milling and replacing and resurfacing the pavement east of Patterson. On the 11th then, as they wrap that up, they'll begin the milling west of Patterson. And then they'll fall right back behind those things and be paving. Other work that's also ongoing is at the end of all that paving work, they'll have to do the approaches coming into all the intersections. And other things that are also ongoing throughout the process is electrical work will start this week and run really through the mid-August. That's work for upgrades they're doing to traffic signals and things of that nature. And then the striping won't start until late August and be done sometime that first week of September. And they're not scheduled to be fully complete until September 14th. So this is a schedule that we last received. This is a schedule that's been posted to our social media outlets. We'll keep you posted. We go to all their weekly scheduling coordination meetings. But I can tell you from those meetings, that schedule is only good for about the 5 minutes at the beginning of the meeting, because there's just a lot of things moving there. Sidewalk replacement, active living projects. Derek is out this week on vacation, but I think we're just over 15 applications for cost share programs. That's resulting in a little over $60,000 in sidewalk improvements throughout the city. And then that's not including the ADA compliance repairs that we're also doing throughout the city. Other big projects on our active living radar right now are the sidewalks along Lafayette Avenue, Witt Road, and Riley Road. Really, we've done all the preliminary work with all the different property owners and coordinating our acquisition efforts. We're working with our legal team to finalize those acquisition procedures and documents as we go forward. And then the idea would be over the next 30 to 60 days, we'll be closing on all those right-of-way acquisitions and getting ready for construction this fall. If that goes too late into the fall, we may consider pushing it into the spring. We'll just have to look at what bidding schedules look like as we get ready for that work. In that same area, Whit Road Bridge, preliminary plans are complete. We had our utility coordination preliminary field check meeting last week. We only had one utility company show up, and that was AT&T, so a little frustrating. We didn't get more participation there. But AT&T is an important one because they've got a lot of fiber optic in that area that always poses a problem for construction. The bridge, aesthetically, just to let you know, will kind of match the Garfield Street Bridge that the city did, I don't know, 10 years ago or so, I think that was. So in terms of the concrete side rails, this will have a similar appearance to that. The only difference is really we will have a 10-foot protected path on the west side of that bridge and then a 5-foot sidewalk on the east side. So as we begin to widen and think about what Whit Road looks like in the future, especially for pedestrians and bicyclists, we'll have those infrastructure items in place. And just a reminder, everyone, that budget is about $800,000. We'd hope to submit for community crossings round 2, which obviously has been canceled, so we'll keep an eye on that for round 1 of next year, which generally comes up in January, but we'll just keep everybody posted on what the state does there. I haven't heard anything yet about the 2021 calls. Big 4 trail expansion. Got to give John and his crew some credit getting some work done out there on some of the heaving that we had been seeing over the last couple of weeks. They had contractors out there grinding those things off, making patches, really getting the trail ready for the 5K and 10K event that took place on Friday. Haven't been out to see it personally myself. I know I should get on the bike more, but I've heard lots of good things from people that have been on it, on how surprised they were, pleasantly surprised to see the bumps on the trail smoothed out. So I thank him for his efforts on getting those things underway. And then we are still working with the contractors that are evaluating why those pavement failures are happening and trying to give us some good recommendations going forward. On Grant Street, things are moving right along. Pipe work is really expected to be complete this week. They got about 65 feet of 36-inch pipe left to lay and one more manhole structure, and then we'll be done. Obviously, I'm not sure what weather's going to look like, and it changes all the time, but that seems like a reasonable feat for the rest of this week. We have run into some problems with some existing storm sewer, existing curb inlets on Ann Street, that the pipe was completely rotten and completely in failure, so we went ahead and replaced that while we were there. And that is moving forward. We are planning to be wrapped up and have that intersection fully open to traffic before school starts, which we were shooting for August 6th. We get an extra week of time there, but we're still on schedule to be done by August 6th. Like I said, trying to wrap that up this week. We'll just see how quickly we can get in there for asphalt patching, be the last thing to do, but that won't disrupt traffic significantly. Fordyce Road engineering study, the final draft was received on Friday, reviewing that as we speak. We've also got a full proposal for full design, bidding, and construction administration services that I am also reviewing. Look forward to bringing that before you for your consideration sometime in August. Also know that we are working with the city's financial advisors to make sure that we've got funds in place to think about Grant Street Phase 1, Grant Street Phase 2. That would complete Grant Street from Fordyce all the way to Indianapolis Avenue, as well as in looking at Fordyce all the way out to John Bart Road, with also the addition of completing the trail segment from Fordyce back to East Street. So really trying to look at those areas of town where we get a lot of traffic, get a lot of visitors coming into town to visit our school systems, our Little League Park, and also where we've got growth forecast for the next few years of the city. Stone Eater Bike Park, drainage design criteria. We've been working with the county to finalize our drainage design criteria, and we're working through those design models this week. Our agreement with the National Interscholastic Cycling Association is nearing completion. We're just awaiting final legal review from the NICA team. I expect that to be finalized this week. We've also prepared press releases about that partnership and an introductory video that we will use to begin kickstarting our fundraising efforts that will resume once we get the legal agreements and the press releases wrapped up and ready to get out the door. Regional detention, a lot moving around on the regional detention system. We're still working with Christopher Burke on the upper regional detention, which is the area between 39 and Hallbaker Road, if you will, and I-65 in that general area. We've been working on developing models and mass grading models, as well as conveyance models. Right now, I've asked them to also look at the CSX railroad crossing, which is a real pinch point to this. In the past, we've seen that as off limits. We've got no reason to believe it has to be off limits. In fact, we've had some real we've had some good conversations with CSX in the last few weeks, and we're getting a lot more cooperation from them. So I'm hoping that's a sign, and we think we've got time to spend the efforts on putting in to make sure that we can do what's right for that crossing instead of letting that handicap the entire system. It was really putting quite a burden on our earthwork models for that site, the future enterprise area. If we can't lower that crossing of the CSX railway, the ponds end up being so high that that entire field has to get 4 to 6 feet of fill, and that's just not practical. So again, we think that's the critical path, is to work with CSX to get that lowered. And then we're also working on the lower and middle ponds in the business park. Well, especially the middle pond is in the business park. We're working with 2 potential project teams that are pretty close in pulling the trigger on new projects in the business park. 2 major projects that hopefully we'll announce in the near future, and that's going to require us to do a lot more regional detention. So we are doing some preliminary analysis on that, make sure we're on pace with the developer's pace. And why I mentioned CSX, I should say one of these good conversations with CSX is they are going to be resurfacing the Lafayette Avenue Bridge. It's a lot of deteriorated concrete and exposed rebar on that bridge. They're going to be coming in, putting a new surface coat of concrete over all that, clean all that bridge up.
Good.
I don't have a definitive date on that, but they're looking at starting probably the second week of August, and it'll take about 3 weeks. They will have to close traffic while they're working, but it'll be just a daytime closure from 9 till 3. Again, more to come. They just came in last week to start talking about that project.
What about the Camp Street Bridge? They thinking about that one?
Camp Street Bridge is on their radar. Actually, all the other bridges are, but this is actually a test pilot project that they've never done anywhere else in this district of CSX, to do this decorative. It's a spray-on gunite concrete coating is what it's going to be. So they want to do one first and make sure it works, and then figure out how they fit the others into their schedule.
Yeah, let's hope it works.
Now, I will say the Camp Street Bridge, it would be a similar treatment. They're not
Sure.
looking at replacing that bridge and widening out our clearance anytime in the near future.
Yeah. Just so it was fixed up and looked a little nicer and
Yep. So
Joe
you know,
could paint it or something.
some of the things that Joe LePage was working on been doing some murals on those bridges. We're
Yeah.
going to hit the pause button on that and see how this goes before
Yeah.
we worry about painting the bridges. Sunbrook and Sunbrook Villas, Phase 2 of Sunbrook, we just got word from the developer that's going to come back in. They're going to revise the shape and size of that Phase 2 set of plans, and we should see that back in within a couple of days. They're still planning to do earthwork this fall. Still working with NDOT on the stoplight agreement at Ping Drive. They have taken that agreement back to the developer and are working with them. We hope to have that finalized here in the short term, now that we are generating traffic at 2 businesses there. We hope that we've met our warrant analysis and we can hang those stoplights up real shortly. Probably no hurry to do that on NDOT's perspective, though, until State Road 32
Yeah,
gets
I've stopped there a couple times waiting for the light to change.
Yeah. Road impact study, just quickly, we're continuing to the analysis of that. Don't forget, I do need volunteers for a committee. We're going to reach out to some of our volunteers from the park impact fee study, but we do need to also hit more of the development community with this type of committee, so we'll be reaching out to some people there. And then last but certainly not least, engineering department, we previously posted our infrastructure inspector and MS4 coordinator position. We were about ready to start interviewing right when the COVID shutdown happened. We've now, since the city hall has opened back up, we've reposted that. We're getting some more interest. I've got one interview set for this week. Hopefully we'll have another one before the end of the week as well. We'll keep you updated there, but we're getting a little more interest on that one. It's not been a highly sought after position apparently, though. We'll see if we can get some more interest here, though. It's a very competitive engineering market right now, I believe. So.
Thank you, Kevin. Any questions for Kevin from the board? Anything from the public? Yep, thank you, sir. Next up, Planning Department, Ben Bontrager.
Good evening, board members. Planning Department activity has been very strong over the last couple of weeks. We completed another 57 building inspections, so we're averaging almost 6 inspections a day, which is a very full day. In addition to that, we also issued 69 permits, including 14 new single-family homes. So we are not seeing a slowdown in residential development for sure in Lebanon. And for sure, the 14 homes, they're split between Riley Ridge and Sunbrook. Riley Ridge has probably only got a handful of lots left of the 86. They've probably only got about 4 of them left after 16 months. So they were averaging about 5 homes a month over the last 16 months. So it's been very strong demand in their neighborhood, and Sunbrook seems to be picking up the pace now that they're underway. They've probably filed, probably 15 permits already just in the last month and a half. So very strong activity there, and that, I guess I would say the first-time home buyer market, even though the homes are averaging in the low 200s, I didn't spend anywhere close to that much on my first home, but that seems to be where the first-time home buyer market is, in the high 100s and low 200s, and they've been very strong there. So hope to continue to see that activity there. Later tonight, on residential, later tonight on the council's agenda, there'll be an annexation request. And this would be to facilitate another new residential development that we're hoping to see move forward later this year once the annexation is effective. So that's also good news that there's some additional demand. This would actually be a move-up buyer home that we would see in this neighborhood. So a lot of good activity there. In terms of code enforcement, again, a lot of strong activity there. Makeda's really handling a lot of cases on her plate right now. We are hoping to have an assistant planner hired and start sometime this next month in August. And so we will be able to handle some additional activity there in code enforcement, probably become more proactive as opposed to just responding to complaints. We may be doing some additional patrolling, if you will, and get that ramped up and be a lot more proactive there. In addition to the assistant planner, we're also finalizing our interviews and making an offer on our building inspector position. If we get any more than 6 inspections a day, that's more than one person can handle. So we're going to get that second person hopefully on board maybe early September, depending on the timing. So finalizing everything on the new positions in the planning department. We're getting some new furniture ordered now that we have 7 people in the department, and with Kevin's position he's hoping to fill, we don't have enough desks anymore. So we're looking to acquire some more space in the building for our use and get some furniture installed. So hopefully that'll happen over the next couple of weeks as well. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Ben. Any questions from the board?
I got one, and
Yes, sir.
you probably said it and I didn't catch it because I just turned up my hearing aids. The price range on the homes there in Sunnybrook, someone asked me what they were.
My understanding is they start in the low 200s. My guess is the average will probably be in the 230s, 240, somewhere around there. We saw the average in Riley Ridge. I know they said that they started in the 170s, but we heard their average sale price was in the 230s also.
Yeah.
So we'd expect to see a similar average there in Sunbrook.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Any additional questions from the board? Anything from the public? Okay, thank you, Ben.
Thank you.
Next up, Street and Stormwater Department, Dave Newell.
How's everybody doing? We've been busy as usual, mowing easements. We did mow some properties that we've been mowing. Got those on the schedule now. Had the sweeper out about 3 days last week between the rains, so we're trying to get a regular schedule back on track with it. Plan on filling some potholes this week. Rain lets us. It should be settled down now. Cleaned off a lot of debris from the catch basins to get ready for these storms. We're still putting up our street signs. For the tiger signs, we about got that wrapped up for the season. Till the end of the season, we'll order more, but we about got them all up. I did get a text from the striping company. They should be here Wednesday. They're going to do the painting part first, the freshen up ones, and then they'll come back and do the thermal. Or they might start it right after they're done. But they're still painting curb and hydrants around town. The brush dates for August will be the 10th through the 14th. We're trying to get that out. Joe put it on the website for us, and we got it on our social media, just getting everybody ready. That's about all I have.
Okay. Thank you, Dave. Any questions from the board?
No, I'm good.
Anything from the public? Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And last but not least, communications and community development. Joe LePage.
Good evening, everyone. As Dave kind of mentioned, the website, the first thing on my list was to update you on the city's website. We continue to add levels of transparency and information as we've kind of taken the reins over and with the help of DevLab, been able to do that from the city perspective. If you click on our events calendar for this meeting, the Board of Works meeting, and also the City Council meeting, you'll see supplemental documents going forward with our RDC meetings and things along those lines. We're actually adding a level of transparency, adding a lot of those supplemental documents that members of the public can have before the meeting starts, to be able to have some information ahead of time, to be able to come in and speak during times of public comment. And so, sorry, my mask is kind of getting caught here. Wanting to add levels of transparency for the public to be able to do that and be able to interact and have more information as we set up and have these meetings that are here for the public. To the point of the city's website, future updates, next up in line for updates will be our police department, meeting with a lot of their public information officers about different elements that they'd like to add to the site to make it more not only user-friendly but interactive as well. So we'll be working on some elements there along with our code enforcement page. And so working with McKay to add some different levels of information there to the city's website. Again, the goal being a user-friendly, interactive site for everyone. You may have noticed if you've walked along the Big Four Trail, and if you walked Fox 59, you would have seen the mayor highlighted there, and the mural as well, obviously, underneath I-65. And so the large mural that we had painted with the help of Signworks, big locomotive there, larger than life, nearly complete. The south wall is complete. We'll actually be adding some additional elements to that in the near future, probably next year actually. But the north wall is finishing up. The painters started on the outsides on sunny days, and so when it's raining like this, they can continue to paint underneath the interstate. So being able to do that. Speaking of murals, the CSX mural, the design phase with our local artists is continuing to ramp up, as Kevin touched on, and we're so thankful for Kevin to be an advocate for the murals that we want to put up for the CSX murals. Being able to have some of those fixed and have a better canvas before the murals are added, and so looking forward to adding those. The first one, Camp Street, Hoy Avenue. The second one near the Prairie Industries building, former will be the Youth Council project, their mural there. You may have noticed all 8 of the city's tiger statues are out and dispersed with the help of our Parks Department throughout our community. And so we're having some folks being able to see, spy, and visit those 8. We've actually working on an interactive map for all 20 of our tigers in our Tiger Trail. And so once school gets ramped up, we'll be unveiling some more tigers at the elementary schools, the middle school, and the high school as well. And finally, just finished up today, setting things over and taking things to Cowan's Drugs for our Shop Love in Lebanon store, physical location of that, different items there that you can purchase and also choose a charity to pay forward a portion of that money that you pay to help out nonprofits that are either located in Lebanon or benefit Lebanon folks. And so I encourage folks to stop by, shop if they feel so inclined, and appreciate the support throughout our community, and our nonprofits do as well.
Thank you, Joe. Any questions from the board? Anything from the public? Okay, thank you, sir. That concludes department head reports, so we'll move on to old business. I don't have anything on my agenda. Is there anything from the board? Nope. Okay, then we'll move on to new business then. First item up is a request for a street closure, the Heart of Lebanon, Missy Krulik.
Hello, I am here tonight to ask for a street closure for the second Lebanon Courthouse car cruise-in. We had our Keith and Amanda Hockenberry are the organizers of the event, but I'm helping them out with the logistics. So the first one in July was very successful. Had a lot of people, or a lot of cars come and park, and it was nice to see the old cars on the square again. And so they're planning the next one for Friday, August 14th. We're asking for street closure, and I've got a diagram here.
You don't have the overhead? Okay. Can you try to explain it to us, Missy?
Yeah, I can explain it. So we're asking for Meridian Street from East Washington to South Street, keeping the Main and Meridian intersection open. So the portion of Meridian Street under the lights, and then the portion of Meridian Street in front of, west of the Heflin building.
So just on
So-
Meridian Street then?
Yes,
Okay.
just on Meridian Street.
Okay.
Keeping that Main Street intersection open.
Okay.
So we want to be able to park cars under the lights and then also have extra availability for parking on that South Meridian Street.
And remind me, last time we just did the under the lights section, right? We didn't do...
Yes, we just did under the light section, and we were planning on parking them around by the library, but of course the cars didn't want to be isolated. They felt like they were isolated around the corner. So we thought that little section of Meridian, South Meridian Street would be a good section to use. They could still hear the music coming from the plaza. We're asking for the closure from 5:30 to 9 p.m. again. And the actual event, car cruising event, takes place from 6 p.m. to 8:30 p.m.
Okay, any questions from the board concerning that?
How many people did you have last time?
I think we had around 100 people when we counted. Just went through and counted. I think we had, the whole area was filled up with cars in that spot, and then also we had some along the ends because we ran out of space.
Okay.
So we just kind of want to open it up a little bit more, create more space.
Okay. Probably not a bad idea in these times.
Yeah.
Any additional questions from the board? Now, so since you're under, are they planning to get a health department permit for this? Or if they think they'll be under the 250?
It'll be under the 250.
Okay, so it's...
Yeah,
okay.
absolutely.
Okay. So with that, any additional questions? Okay, would entertain a motion to approve the street closure request on August 14th from 5:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. on Meridian Street from North Washington, or from Washington Street to South Street, while leaving the intersection of Main Street open. 9, yeah, 5:30 to 9, correct?
5:30 to 9.
Okay.
Yeah, they usually pull out pretty fast. When it turns 8:30, they're ready to go, but there are some that lag behind.
I'd make a motion that we approve the street closure request by the Heart of Lebanon as presented.
Okay. We have motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, that street closure request is approved. Thank you, Missy.
Thank you.
All right, next up is contract approval, Grand Street Phase 2. Kevin Krulik?
Thank you once again. Here to talk a little bit more about Grant Street. I know I mentioned it earlier. With me also tonight representing Butler, Fairmont, and Seifert is John Brand. So this is a design proposal that is for the design of Phase 2. So we're already under contract with Butler Fairman and Cypher for the design of Phase 1, which is from the area, Grant Street, from the intersection of Washington Street north to and including the intersection of Fordyce. And so this would then be Phase 2, which would include the area from Washington Street south to and including the intersection with Indianapolis Avenue. As much as we can within the state right-of-way, we're not going to modify any of the alignments of State Road 32 or Indianapolis Avenue. The total contract covers all consulting fees to get us all the way through and start of construction from survey work, roadway design, utility coordination, project management, hosting public meetings. It goes on to right-of-way engineering and those right-of-way services, appraisal reports, reviews, everything we need except for the actual cost of buying right-of-way. So getting us all the way through that process. Again, coordinating all the LPA process with the state of Indiana. This was awarded a designation number. We do anticipate, though, this to be completely locally funded, but constructed and bid with the Phase 1 project is why we've got some LPA coordination in this as well. And geotechnical work is also included in here. So the total contract value is $368,330. Again, that's 368,330.00. Where might we pay for this? So in working with Clerk Treasurer's Office, what we're looking at is the CCI and CCD funds. That's Cumulative Capital Improvement and Cumulative Capital Development funds. These are both funds that are funded by primarily by the state, and these are funds that currently we're using to construct Indianapolis Avenue project. Indianapolis Avenue project is nearing completion. We've probably got one more final change order that we'll have to process when that comes in. Again, it's 80/20, so it's probably going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of $80,000 to $100,000. We'll have to pick up 20% of that. We've got a little more time from our inspection contracts that will also have to pay only at 20%, So I anticipate no more than like $100,000, and I'm being pretty conservative there on what we'll have to do to close out the Indianapolis Avenue project. The balances in the CCI CCD fund, and I actually believe it's a little higher now, but last time I had the balances pulled on June 30th, the two funds had a total balance of $630,497.18. So we've got more than enough in those funds that's already allocated. So we just need approval, if you would so choose, to execute this contract subject to legal review and authorizing the mayor to sign it. And then the funds in that CCI CCD fund would be used to pay for this. What question's going to answer?
So you're not planning to use stormwater utility funds for this?
Stormwater utility funds will probably come in when we get to construction of this, but for the design, we were just trying to simplify it by using those existing funds that we've sort of been using in that existing corridor.
So I think we may need to make it contingent upon council approval as well. I don't think that the Board of Works doesn't have the authority to appropriate those funds?
These funds are already appropriated and not budgeted for anything else.
Have the money.
I know we have the money, but if it's not in the budget, we can't do without.
No, it's in.
Yeah,
It's in the budget already.
That's actually why we brought it here instead of putting it on the council agenda, is that we do not need an appropriation for that money. It's already there, already budgeted. We just need the Board of Works as the primary contracting authority for the city to authorize us to enter into the contract. Not to say that if the board would so choose, we could go that route. Obviously, if a different route would require an appropriation, then that's at a council level, not at the Board of Works level.
Tanya, did we budget so much out of each one for this project, or did we budget one for the project, or?
No. We just put the money in there each year. It's about the same year after year. We used some of it for Indianapolis Avenue, and then
So we just budgeted for projects, is that what we did?
Dick, from a
make
council
sure we're
perspective,
okay.
do you have any concerns with this?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure we're okay, so.
Okay, so the fact it's already budgeted, you're okay with it?
Yeah, I think we're okay. Yeah.
Okay.
I might also suggest, I mean, that's going to take us a couple of years to spend this money.
Oh, for
It's
sure,
not something
for
we're going
sure,
to
yeah.
spend in the next 6
Yeah,
months.
Yeah, they're not going to spend all that this year.
So, but I would like to get things rolling, especially on right-of-way engineering, right-of-way acquisition, and preliminary
Sure.
design. Those are things that we really have to get going to get this up to speed with Phase 1.
And we got federal funds all ready for this for construction?
We have federal funds in the Phase 1 project. There's no federal money in this, although there is a DES number, and it will run through the federal process. And we'll have to follow the federal guidelines for right-of-way acquisition, but this will not be federally funded. It will be locally funded.
Okay.
So as I mentioned earlier, we're working through some funding scenarios with Baker Tilly, and hopefully by the end of the month, when we come back in August, I'll be able to share those scenarios with you. But the mayor's exactly right. We're looking at funding the construction primarily through stormwater, as well as we've got some existing Grant Street bond funds. But I will say the existing Grant Street bond fund is pretty depleted. I want to say there's less than 200,000 in that fund last time I checked. So that bond fund had several different road projects in it, and those other road projects that were before I was really here, so I can't really speak to them intimately, but they just were more expensive than what was originally budgeted.
Okay. Any additional questions from the board?
Yeah, Kevin, is the right-of-way going to be on the west side of Grant Street between Washington Street and 32?
It primarily probably be centered. There may be some shifting as we go through to the north, but we walked it a lot with our consultants and looking at that. Primarily, it seems to make the most sense to be centered. Now, we're not looking at widening the road significantly. The road is going to continue to be a 2-lane road, but will add curb and gutter. We will add sidewalks on both sides. We will add street lighting, and we will add street trees. But the road is not going to get significantly wider with the exception of the added sidewalks on either side.
Right, so we just asphalted that
We
this
did.
year?
Well, but this is
We
for
did,
construction in, what, 2024?
Yeah, I was going to say, keep in mind, this is 24 or 25 construction, really.
Okay,
Yeah, I know, we made the decision to asphalt it a year ago. This just was brought to our attention and suggested to us actually by NDOT maybe 3 months ago. So it's a way to help us get that project done. But yeah, in hindsight, well, I don't know. In hindsight, that asphalt was in pretty bad shape. I hate to put it down and then tear it up in 5 years, but it was in pretty bad shape. So is the rest of Grant Street in that section of Phase 1, but we think that will last till a 2023 start. So I really foresee these two phases kind of running concurrently, and the Phase 1 north of Washington Street will start in 24. Phase 2 will start in 23. Phase 2 will start in 24. Whether that goes in 25, I really can't tell you right now until we work through all those details.
Okay.
So it won't be a complete throwaway, but we'd like to get 10 years out of a resurfacing project. We're probably only going to get 5.
You have a question, Dick?
After we approve this, I got a question for you.
Okay.
Okay.
With that, pending any other further questions, would entertain a motion to approve the Grant Street Phase 2 contract pending final legal review and authorizing myself to sign on your behalf.
I'll make a motion, we approve the Grant Street Phase 2 design agreement with Butler, Fairman, and Seifert, subject to legal review, and then the mayor's signature at the end, please.
Yep. We have a motion. Is there a second?
second?
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay, that is approved.
Kevin, while I got you there, a question, Fordyce Street, I know we're talking about curb and gutter from Elm Swamp Road, or not Elm Swamp, but John Bart Road back to Grant Street,
Yes.
correct? And then we're talking about taking a trail, there's going to be trail sidewalk all the way out and trail from Grant Street all the way down to East Street, so that way we can tie into the trail,
sir.
correct?
Yes.
Okay. Are we considering any other future work on Fordyce Street from Grant Street to East Street, or to, I think it's to, the last improvement was right there when they did the bridge right there at Park
Yeah,
Street.
From Park Street West was recently reconstructed, and so we would just need to widen one of those sidewalks out to get our path through. But that area, it's a good question, between Park and Grant is really in pretty good shape. But I think some pedestrian improvements and upgrades is really what is needed through there.
Okay, I was just curious.
We're
We're doing all that curb and gutter and drainage work, and I was just wondering if, I think there's something that's been done on Fordyce Street though a long, long time ago as far as drainage goes. That
Yeah,
it's
there's
improved
been
a lot of stuff.
There's some modern sewer
Down through
work
there.
in there. I'm not sure when it was
Yeah.
done, but it does drain pretty well.
Yeah.
We're also currently looking into opportunities where our street department, whether either through contractors or through our own crews, can start going back and adding curbs to existing streets without full reconstruction.
Yeah.
I would invite you all to go look at Busby between East and Park. We did sort of a pilot project there with the East Street project, where the East Street project had a lot of curb patching in there. And we were able to take the budget we had for curb patching and almost for the same price, run new extruded curbs down through there. And it's really cleaned it up well. We kind of did it as a test project because we wanted to understand how they would winter, how they would take up snowplow abuse. And I'll say they look great. They look as good as the day we put them down. And so we're really trying to figure out how the street department, whether, like I said, whether with our own labor force or with doing small contracts every year, can start adding curbs into our resurfacing programs.
Okay.
Yep.
That's all I had.
Thanks, Dick. All right, and last but not least, we had a late addition. We have a change order for the Memorial Park restroom.
Yes.
You had it with you, Kevin?
Yeah, thank you. I apologize. This sort of came in the middle of well, right as we were coming back and opening City Hall, so this kind of got lost in the shuffle with the COVID transitions. This is really a final change order that just wraps up some of the miscellaneous things that were hanging loose ends on the project. So again, this is change order number 2 for the Memorial Park restroom. The total is for $11,501.75. It included 7 items, which was installing some can lights and relocating some emergency lighting. It involved, number 2 was then remove and replace some masonry blocks to widen the roll-up door openings. This is one of these things, as we got into construction, we realized that those openings needed to be wider. We also had them add in some concrete ramps for the storage buildings. And that was number 3, excuse me. Number 4, we did some additional asphalt paving in front of those buildings to better transition out to the existing pavement. Number 5, we eliminated some coil door locks, so there was a negative part of this change order as well there. Granted, it's only $300, but there was a negative in there. We had to relocate hand dryers. I had to make some concessions there, and that cost a little bit of money. And then last, again, was another credit to eliminate some receptacles. So again, this is change order number 2, Memorial Park restroom building for Monroe Construction Group. The total is $11,501.75.
Any questions concerning the change order? Okay. This time, we'll entertain a motion to approve change order number 2 for the Memorial Park restroom.
I make a motion we approve the change order for the Memorial Park restroom for $11,501.75.
Motion to approve, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That change order is approved. Is there any other new business from the board? Okay, we'll move on to claims then, and we'll entertain a motion concerning the claims.
Make a motion to pay claims.
We have a motion to pay the claims, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Claims are approved. Any announcements, discussion? Any public comment?
Make a motion to adjourn.
We have motion to adjourn, is there a second?
A second.
Motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, we are adjourned. The city council meeting will begin shortly.